Hello everyone, welcome back to the Pushing Horizon podcast, the podcast where we dive into extraordinary journey of everyday athletes. I am your host Ash. Our guest today has pushed the boundaries of what's possible. 95-mile training weeks, races across the jungle, and a burning ambition to qualify for the Ironman World Championship in Kona. I am so excited to get into this. So without further ado, please let me introduce you to our guest, Mira. Hey Mira, welcome to the Pushing Horizon podcast. I'm so happy you are here. You are the second triathlon I think we have here. Before you, we talked with Elena. It was nice conversation. We got a new direction of new insight on Ironman. So I'm really excited. Ironman or Ironwoman?
Oof, that's a good question. Ironwoman for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. I did a little bit of research and I said, what should we call it? And then he said, ask you. So that's what I did. And then I asked you for that. So thank you for that. I've known you briefly. I don't know a lot about you, but when I asked you a question, I saw what you sent to me and it's inspiring and it's kick-ass because you are doing incredible things. Ironman, that's way above the pay scale I have. So can you please give a quick introduction so our guests know about you?
sure. My sports started with running in college. Was studying for architecture and it just got really stressful. And one of my friends just asked, "Hey, do you just want to go for a run with me? It really helps me clear my mind. This is what I do. Maybe it'll help you." I was just so anxious all the time and just stressed with tests and studying and up all night. We started running together and I noticed a complete difference in who I was as far as like just being able to handle other people when I've gone out for a run, and just my stress levels went down. I was anxious in general. I started looking better. So I was like, oh, this is not bad at all. And then she got me into signing up for my first half marathon is what we did. Yeah, so that was huge. I remember I lived in Kansas at that time and it was the winter time and I ran on the treadmill. I trained as much as I could. And yeah, that was my first introduction to really running. And I did my first half marathon back in like 2004 or something. And then ever since it was running. It was just my thing to get kind of stress relief. And then I was like, oh, America is so cool. I'm not from here. I'm originally from Romania. I grew up in Germany and was new to America, living in Kansas. And I was like, oh, I would love to explore the US and why not do a half marathon in every state? So that got me going and I started researching and planning out work trips around these marathons that I could do on the weekends and vacations. Like, oh, let's go vacation here. Oh, there happens to be a marathon. So that's what started it all. And then I looked at Massachusetts. I was like, oh, obviously this Boston Marathon city, it's so popular. Why is it so popular? And I started doing research and was like, oh my goodness, I'm running a 4-hour marathon right now. And I think that's comfortable and fast. Now I have to give off 35 minutes just to qualify for this race.
Yep.
So that I made that my goal and started training and working hard to get there. And that's how the whole marathon training started, because I hadn't run marathons. It was just half marathons. So it's like, okay, well, to qualify, I have to now run marathons.
Yep.
So that's how the whole running journey started. The triathlon journey is new, very new, as last year in February.
How do you find the difference or the demand, I would say, because it's a totally different sports and different ball game actually, because marathon is just running, but triathlon and the one you're trying is marathon plus biking, 180 mile you said, and then 3.8 miles of swimming. So it's like, how do you balance the demand? Yeah.
Tough. It's a part-time job to train for this thing. It wouldn't be so intensive if I didn't want to get to Kona. The competition out there, amazing. There's all these women out there that are just doing incredible things and have been doing it for a longer time than me. So they kind of know and made all the mistakes that I'm now making and learning.
But it's incredible because you said you started from a half marathon, and usually people start from 5K and then go over like 5K, 10K, half marathon and marathon, but you started from a half marathon. So you already made like a 2-step jump onto the difficulty level.
It's all the friends, right? The people you surround yourself with. And unfortunately or fortunately, I have found the crazier ones, that more extreme things. So
we all have those in our life who do crazy thing, and then there is no way to do it. So all right, let's rewind for a second. You once did the famous David Goggins challenge, 4x4x48, running 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Let me say that that's like incredibly difficult for me. When I think about it, I saw one of my friends who did it, Jacqueline, and I was like, you are crazy. So when you're doing this incredibly difficult challenge, what's the hardest part? And what is just the running it itself or lack of sleep? And I would say, like, how do you keep motivated because it's for every 4 hours and it was stressful?
Okay, so that I really didn't want to do that when also one of my friends who also happens to be just a crazy ultra runner, and I suggested it to her. We had just met that week when I decided I wanted to do the 4x4x48. I had moved to a new neighborhood. She kept running all the time. I was like, oh my goodness, she has to become my friend. We're obviously like-minded. So I met her. It was on a Wednesday or something, and I said, hey, anything this weekend? This crazy thing. It's called the Goggins Challenge. I mean, it's just going to be 2 days of us running together. She's like, sure, let's do it. And so, yeah, that's how we actually became friends. That weekend, we had a lot of time together. I didn't want to do it by myself, and it was fun to be in the same neighborhood, meet up every 4 hours and be able to go out and do our loop and come back. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. So I think the best thing would be to have somebody to do it with, makes it easier. And then the other thing is I had planned activities to do in between so I wouldn't get bored. So I always had something to do. Then the hardest part was definitely the next day. I like to sleep at night. I usually go to bed super early. I get up early too, but it's that midnight, 4 a.m. Those were the hardest, I think. But also the coolest because it's so quiet out there. Nobody out. Just, you're delirious as you're running. And it's just, I don't know, I thought it was really cool. And it wasn't really that hard because you could nap in between, especially at night. You just take a couple hours.
I'm usually a morning person, so it's easier for me to get up at 12 or 4 than to wake up at 10 or 11. I cannot wake up until 10 or 11. I also go bed super early, so since the childhood, I always have this habit of going bed early, so I don't know why I tried to make this habit, but if you ask me to wake up at 4, 3, then I'm okay waking up, but if you ask me to, let's go out at 10, then I'm like, oh God, you want to go out at 10?
It's funny. I think that makes us just better at these things.
Yeah.
So.
But that's incredible. And you came back and then you did the coastal challenge in Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's that same friend. So she was like, hey, we should do a stage race. I did that. Like, okay, you run every day for 6 days. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I didn't do enough research into it to really know what I was getting myself into. But you're out there, the middle of the jungle. They take you by bus into the jungle. On the first day, you start running and you're carrying your water and food. So you're running 20 to 30 miles to this next stop where they have your tent set up and they have food ready. There's showers. So you kind of get in, take a shower, eat, and then you go to bed as soon as possible. Because at 3 a.m., they start cooking breakfast. And at 4, you have to be eating. Be all packed up by 5 as soon as the sun's up again. So you do that for 6 days straight. It's how sore you are, like after the first day, second day, third day. And the funny thing is, after that 6th day, we woke up and we were just like, we're not sore. We're ready to go. So your body just gets used to it. It's a lot of effort and you get beat up a lot. I've never been more sore in my whole life. It's crazy.
That's an insane thing to do because you run 6 days back to back and then you said 20 to 30 miles and that's hard. And you said you did it without the research. Maybe that was the benefit for you because otherwise how would you have prepared for it, right? Mentally, even to do that every day, it's just hard to do it. And what did you learn about yourself when you did that?
So there were some times where it was pretty tough to get through the day, but I did also have times where I kind of listened to my body and stopped. My knees were hurting. I learned so many things in this one. How resilient the body is, that you can push through, and it might be really hard right now, but it'll be okay. It'll get better. Your body will get used to it. It's just pushing through at that time, through the pain, which is so hard. But, watching all these other people do it, I'm like, they can do it, then I can do it.
Were you or your friend suggested this thing? Who did suggest that?
Pardon me?
Did you or your friend suggested to do this challenge, the coastal challenge in Costa Rica?
It was definitely her idea.
I was gonna ask, were you upset at her or mad at her after you were done with it? Because it's by just thinking about it, running 6 days, back-to-back days, 30 miles, it's like you said, sore body, everything is hurting, the fatigue and everything, it's just incredibly hard. And like at any point you were mad, like,
yeah, there were times where I was like, God damn it. But then again, I'm like so grateful that she pushes me to do bigger things. If it wasn't for her, I don't have another friend like her that she's so adventurous. She loves the challenge and she's inspiring and she's pushing me to get out there and do things I've never done. So I can't be upset at,
Yeah.
I just have to be happy to have her in my life. And her there with me. That's the biggest thing, because I don't think I would have done it by myself.
Yeah, like you said, the body is so resilient and it learns to adapt. So, like you said, when you did the 6 days in a row and then 7 days, you were all ready because it adapts to itself. So, I think we cannot know what we can do until we go and face it. I think that's one of the biggest thing I learned while I'm doing running is yes, we will be scared and it will be tough condition, but so we keep going at it, and then when it is done, then we're just like, oh my god, did I just do it? And it just like we're so surprised at ourselves because our body has done this thing we thought was impossible.
Yeah, anything is.
Yes, I think it's your mind. That's what I learned from my last
mental
half marathon because I knew I was not ready to do a PR, and I just planned at it, and then I kept at that plan, and then the mind just is incredible because it will take you high and it will take you low too, because once it is satisfied, then the hunger goes down. It just within a minute of like 20 minutes or 10 minutes, the motivation went up to down for me. So that's just incredible, like how fast the thing changes. One time it's just pushing you like, let's go, 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 and once you think, okay, the goal is achieved, then it's just like, no need to do it. We're cool now.
Stop now.
Yeah. And you do this incredible amount of mileage every week, right? So you said you run around 95 miles in a week.
Mileage for the Coastal Challenge, just doing back to back.
Can you please walk us through like what is your peak training week looks like, and how do you recover when you're pushing so hard, especially right now because you are trying this triathlon, Ironman? Can you please walk us through the process?
Sure. So it's extremely difficult to get it all done in a week. There are not enough hours in the week to be working a full-time job and being able to train for this thing. It's insane. Between the training, my Ironman training is about 20 hours a week of training. And on top of that, I like to sleep 8 hours a night. Having the full-time job on top of that makes it really difficult. The weekends are pretty much just during the week, it's normal to have 3 workouts. So I'll either get up in the morning and have a swim, then I'll bike at lunch, and then I'll have a run. Or it's just bike and swim, or it's just always a combination of 2 at least that I do. And then on the weekends, it's all out. It's the long days, it's the long bike rides. It's just trying to eat as much as I can because I'm burning so many calories. It's actually a job. Another task besides swim, bike, run is also eat, because that is actually a lot of the time that you do.
And you need to feel it because you are burning so much calories in a day, and like every day, like you said, when you do bike, run, swim, then that's at least 1,000 calories, 2,000 calories, 3,000 calories. So you need to. That's
on a regular basis. I have 2,000 to 3,000 calorie days where I'm in a deficit too, where I just have to make sure I keep eating, even if I don't want to eat.
That is insane. That is hard.
The body is just like it eats everything it can, get in this state of autophagy, and it's just the body just consumes everything.
In this particular scenario, do you have a diet plan or something that you eat or you like to eat? I know carb is probably the favorite thing to eat, but how does your diet look like when you're doing this incredible thing?
So that I try to focus on being very balanced and not just doing carbs, although carbs are majority of what I eat. I try to balance it with good source of protein and making sure I do take vitamins and supplements, but I like to make sure my food I eat whole foods so I can get all my nutrients from that food.
Okay.
It is my own diet plan. I've never had anybody put it together for me. It's just the things that I like seem to be also the things that are really good for you. So I'm lucky from that point that I will eat anything. And if, it's bitter foods or beets and things like that, most people don't like them, but they're so free, especially as an athlete.
Yes, beet is good for you. I was talking to Jay and he said he doesn't like so many things because he doesn't like the texture, so he cannot eat them. I was just thinking if he was doing a Ironman, then he would be in a lot of trouble because there are so many foods he wouldn't eat.
That would be really.
And so you started from a half marathon and then it escalated to marathon. Then you started looking for BQ. Did you ever did a BQ or have it done?
I did, yeah. So I ran my first Boston race last year. My friend and I trained together, and then we raced together. This is a different friend.
Oh, I was like, oh, that friend is everywhere.
I love trail running. I love road races. I love triathlons. So I have different friend groups, like the one that I told you about that likes the extreme stuff and she does the trail races. Well, this other one likes fast races. That's who I qualified for Boston with. And then we ran together last year, and we happened to actually on accident qualify again for this year.
Accidentally?
So Well, we were in such good shape, right? We had just qualified. We just were in really good shape and we ran Boston pretty fast. Then she was like, hey, since we already qualified, let's sign up for next year and let's do it one more time. I was like, oh God, it's such an expensive race. It's the
Yeah.
logistics and so many people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm so grateful and I'm so honored that I was able to do that and qualify for it. But I don't want to keep doing it every year because it's a lot. It's a lot of people. It's a big, big race. Right? You know that from Berlin. It's like, and I don't know. I feel like I want to see so many things and I want to run so many races. Why run the same one over and over? So I was like, okay, fine. Since we qualified together, we'll do one more. And then they rolled back the time, the buffer,
Yes,
and
I
she
remember
missed
that.
it 7 seconds.
Oh God.
I didn't
So you
because
have
we're in
to.
an A group. So
Yeah.
I ended up getting in and she didn't get in. So I was like, oh God, now I have to run it alone. So I just ran it.
A week ago.
So I ran it again, but this time I only raced half of it and the rest I jogged. It was a completely different experience than last year. I feel like we rushed through it because we were just so excited. And this time I just took my time and got the crowds and read the signs, and it was a different experience. It was really nice to actually take my time.
On that point, you talked about comparing last year's marathon, Boston Marathon, and this year's. Do you think that when we are so focused on running, chasing that time, being in this tunnel where we just want to rush, do we miss out the fun of it? Because we sometimes forget that we're doing this for fun. And then Boston is very competitive, right? Because you have to get super extreme time to get it. So when we get there, we try to enjoy it, or we try to be, like you said, in two different races, the experience were totally different. One, you were chasing tunnel vision, and the other, you didn't have and kind of enjoyed, look at all the signs. So what should we prioritize on?
It
Tricky
depends on
thing.
yeah, it's very tricky. It depends on the person, right? For me, marathon running was always, like I said, I wanted to explore every state. And the fun part was like to do research on Ohio. What's like a really cool race in Ohio? What's this place I could go to in Ohio? And then when they put on a marathon in a city, they like to show off that
So
city
yeah.
and take you, the most beautiful parts. So I've always enjoyed that. Having to switch to this whole time constraint and like I have to qualify for Boston. You don't get to enjoy it as much anymore. And I lost that during the time when I was qualifying. And it depends on the person. Like for me, getting to Boston was hard and I want to enjoy Boston would be my way of looking at it. But somebody more competitive might be like, oh no, I need to run a really fast marathon Boston. So it just depends on the person. For me, it was more of always just been more of doing the distance. I'm
Mhm.
4 hours. I know I can do 320 if I need to, but it's not the same experience for me. So
Yeah.
I feel that way with Ironman training because it used to just be like, oh, getting all the distances done. And now it's like, oh no, that bike, you are focused on that bike. On that swim, you're not looking for fish, you're swimming. You know what I mean? And you get to the run and you're just out there.
Running, yeah. So when you are doing all these kind of things, like you said, sometimes we want to do it for fun, but when you're actually doing Ironman, then it's not for fun because you want to push your body because you are swimming for kilometers and then 180 miles of bike and then the marathon running. So it's like a different beast of thing that you want to do. Do you do it to push yourself or do you do it to have fun? I don't think there's something like having fun when you're doing something like that. Is it to just push, like how further can we go or can you do it?
I actually enjoy the process of getting there. So for me, getting to that race day and really pushing myself and knowing that I put in the work, I worked so hard for this, and then having that opportunity to showcase and to really give it my all. I don't know. It is fun. It is hard, but it's fun. And it's getting to the point where I'm learning so much that it's fun to chase that goal.
Let me ask this one. Might be interesting. In that aspect that you are pushing yourself so much and then the adrenaline is coming because you are doing this thing so intense for so much longer and you are exhilarated because it's just like pumped, when you're doing this kind of thing, it's just you're pumped. So it's fun in that method because it is kind of a very thrilling thing to do, Not a lot of people can do it. Only few people can do it. So do you think it's just that exhilarate, like when oh God, I can do it and I'm doing it. So is that kind of pump you're talking about? Fun in that aspect.
Yep, that's it. It's just like, wow, like my body can do this. Then the cool thing is having different strengths, right? I'm a good runner. So usually when I get to the run, a lot of people are suffering. So that's my favorite part is like, okay, you did all the others. I think that's my favorite part. And it's only a marathon.
Yeah.
After you've done You've done the 180 kilometers
Yeah,
of
it's
the
only
Vikings little.
used like I accidentally after that too. So after doing a marathon on it,
We didn't mean to. We were just going so fast. It's a downhill course.
can you accidentally do BQ when you're doing Ironman? Is that possible?
No,
Have
the
anybody tried
Ironman
it?
are in USA track and fields and
No,
qualifying races.
that would be interesting.
You can go to World Championships, which is Kona.
What is your fastest time?
Kona.
Okay. Now it makes sense why you are going for Kona.
Yep, I'd like to go there.
So when you are doing this kind of incredible thing, are you self-coached or do you work with someone? And what's that one thing that help you with the performance that people might have overlooked?
So I've always been self-coached for everything. Always had a hard time with an online coach because I'm very much self-motivated. So if I have a plan that I can find, I know how to follow it. I'm very disciplined. So I always said to myself, I would really love to have a coach in person and never find one that was in person there for me. And 3 weeks ago, I met someone who had just moved to the area who has a triathlon team back in Colombia.
Okay.
Tritanium, which is such a cool name too, right? So he had just moved to the States, and oh my God, I've been literally asking for somebody like you. So we got together and we did a few swims together. Unfortunately, it was just weeks before my Ironman, so there's not much coaching we can really do, but he's gonna help me get to Kona from here on out. We're gonna work together. So I actually have a coach now, which is kind of cool. I'm super excited to have somebody. And like I said, the in-person coaching is game changer for me because you have somebody who can see what you're doing, who can tweak your form. It's different than me just telling him what I felt and how I looked. Instead he's right there and watching me, and he knows how to tweak one thing and go out there and try it again. Okay, it looks better. Now try this. And it's just completely different than having a plan that says you're gonna swim 2 miles today and then you're gonna run 15 miles.
Yeah, it is so when you were like, oh, I wish I can get a coach here, and then it's just like, oh, it just happened. So that's like a good
You know what?
coincidence.
I believe in having a very powerful mind. When you put it out there, it will eventually happen. I mean, I've been doing this for a year and a half. I've been asking for an in-person coach. It might take a while to have your dreams come true, but they do come true.
It's like a positive manifestation, right? That's what it's
Mhm.
called. So are you excited that is he gonna be training you after the Kona? Because you said
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I'm so excited. 20 years of experience. He has just started his triathlon team here. He has one with lots of athletes back in Colombia, and then this is going to be the US version, and I'm his first athlete. So I'm
Woo!
super excited. Yeah.
That sounds like excited. So I'm happy for you because you wanted that and now you have this. And the way you're excited, it will help you get that goal.
hmm
So yeah, I'm looking
I
forward
think,
to see how it goes in forward in future.
thank you. Yeah, me too. It's a lot of work, but I think
Yeah.
all of next year is going to be hard training because this year I'm not doing another one again. I'm doing just a few more marathons, knock off some other states. 'Cause I'd like to finish all my states at some point.
Just BQ marathons, no, nothing more.
No, no more of those. I'm done. I don't want to qualify for Berlin. I don't want to qualify for New York. I'm good.
I
I
like
sat now.
that much change because it's one way of pushing yourself because that's what you do. And then when you're trying to get the time, then I don't know, maybe that will help or not. So
Yeah. See, you already know me so well. I say I won't do it, and then I'll.
yeah, I was like, no, I believe it.
It's sad. It's so sad because I'm predictable.
So we're talking about your Kona championship and other thing. There are basically three different aspects of training because you have to bike, then you have to do some running, and then you have to swim. So how does your typical training block look like? Not in terms of what you do, but in terms of balancing the intensity, the volume, and then recovery. Because you said you do three things in a day, so there is not much time left because you work and then you sleep. So how do you balance the intensity, volume, and recovery process between these things?
So what I've done, like I said, that might change with the coach, but my plan has always been a 3-week build, 1 week that's a little less. So you're building and then you kind of get a little bit of a break the fourth week. And it's just so you know, it's about 4 to 6 month training block for me to get to.
6 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you start out it's doable in the beginning and it just slowly builds up. Just try to be very, very strict, which unfortunately that means, sometimes I can't go to movies, I can't go to concerts, I can't. So it's just very much my life, the sport. It's what you got to do, I guess.
Does the deload week help you? So you said you do 3 weeks of intense
Mm.
training and then one deload week.
Yeah, and then I get one rest day. I never used to give myself a rest day, but I started giving myself a full rest day where I may do yoga or stretching or something, but I'm not a lot.
So when you said deload week, please sounds insane. That might be a full training session for somebody else. So how does your deload week look like? Because I don't know how much you do in terms of volume, how much running and biking. What is the comparison between your regular week and the deload week?
It's about 20 to 30% less.
Okay.
So you can feel the difference. It's not as my weekends aren't as long. So the way the training is laid out, for me, I'm not a strong swimmer and I'm new to the bike. So I need to improve my swim. So I spend a lot of time swimming and I spend a lot of time on the bike because that's the biggest, having 180 kilometers. If you're 1 mile faster an hour, that's actually, it's a lot over that time frame. So it's important for me to get faster at that sport in that category. And then the swim, I'm an okay swimmer. I'm usually like in the middle of the pack. And then what happens when I don't wear a wetsuit is I get a lot slower. So it just has to be the right conditions for me to be able to have a good swim. So that's what I'll be training quite a bit on, the swim and the bike to get better.
And how long is your ideal build up when you're training for a Ironman or marathon? You said 9 months for Ironman? Did I hear that right?
For marathon, I like to do 16 weeks. That's about 4 months of building. That's if you start from really having taken a long break. If you're kind of in shape still, between 2 and 3 months, I think is definitely necessary for me to build back up.
Okay.
But yeah, for an Ironman, 4 to 6 months of training. And that's starting with already having a base. But it usually takes a year.
Dang.
It's a lot. But once you get into it, it's not that bad. But you have to keep doing it.
Keep
You can't
doing it, yeah.
stop. It's like your body just like forgets how to do it.
And how long is it to get back up? Do you have a time break between the Kona and then another Ironman that you wanted to do, or you're gonna keep going at it?
So I've been going at it a while now, and I'm actually taking a month off and not doing anything intense like that. So tomorrow I'll be on a cruise. It'll be no craziness for at least a month, and then a marathon coming up, which I can start slowly running again, but nothing like that. So for Kona, I don't have a plan yet. I was hoping I could qualify, but I had a few mistakes I made and unfortunately didn't qualify this time. And I also did too much as far as too many marathons in a month before. But the plan is to figure out what suits me best for next year. I'm going to pick a couple races and try to qualify for Kona then.
But you ran in Boston and then the Texas Ironman, right? Within a week?
So Boston was Monday and then Saturday the Ironman. So I do not recommend that. Coach doesn't want to hear about it.
Not enough recovery time in between.
No, unfortunately, no. So I made a mistake, but
yeah, true. And when you are doing this kind of Ironman and things, have you ever, like in your case, maybe when you're doing the Boston Marathon and then the Texas Ironman, so when this kind of thing happens, when you are stacking long session, we can call it long session because I don't think 1 week is enough, like recovery and things. So how does fatigue come into play? Because you literally had 1 week, not even a week, like 5-6 days break between the Boston Marathon and the Ironman. So in this particular, like when you're training for this kind of thing, does these things happen often when you are doing these incredible longer sessions back to back and you're trying to simulate the race thing because you do 3 events?
4 major races back to back. It just wasn't enough time to recover.
No.
And I thought I was invincible and I'll get there and I'll be fine, but I wasn't.
Yeah, it's hard. Even so, you do marathon 50K. That's hard on your body because it's not easy to run this. And then you do Ironman. You must have been depleted. Did you have any energy left when you did Ironman?
I actually did. I felt fine. So it's not that I wasn't sore or anything. It was more of just the fatigue had built up, so I couldn't sustain it for very long. And then the fact that it was 90 degrees and I had lost my salt pills, so I was deficient in a lot of electrolytes. When I ended up at the run. So maybe I could have I still think that there was too much fatigue built up overall.
It's a lot because if you ask anybody, how much did you do? And then you say, like, I did a marathon race and then 50K and then it's in a 4 week. That's incredible. That's hard because I don't think, even if you take a full week to recover, it's not enough. I don't think it's enough to recover and get all the salt back and everything. It's hard.
I think somebody once told me that for each mile that you race, you're supposed to take 1 day off before you race again. Technically, if you're racing a marathon, you should take at least 26 days
26
off
days.
before you race again.
You
You can
did.
run in that time, but just don't race because that puts a different pressure on your body.
It's bit. Even if you don't try to go and do like a BQ time, even if you're running under 4 hours, or maybe for you it's maybe 3:30 or 4. It's hard because it takes a toll, and the acute fatigue is very hard because we don't realize it. But once we get in this block and we keep running, then it keeps adding on it, and it doesn't go away because it's very hard to get rid of. So we have to be very careful that we don't
And
get
then the
this.
toll.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
I
different
thought,
beast.
I was like, well, why would it be so hard? All I'm doing is sitting on a plane. Why is that so hard on the body? But it's actually difficult for your body to catch up, and sleep is going to be affected because you're in a different place, and then time change, and then just all adds up. So I think I've learned so much this month alone. Over the past 2 years, I've learned so much, and then this month alone, so many lessons learned. And I look forward to just taking that and adding that to my experience so I don't make the same mistakes again.
So let's say like you had this chance to observe whatever happened in the last month, and you had to summarize like what did you learn in this final last 4 weeks, then what would make your answer for it?
It was, holy cow, you can put the body through a lot, still perform. I still finished everything I did. You can do really hard things, and this was really difficult to do in 4 weeks. But I also learned that it is very important to rest, and it's very important to have a plan for nutrition and have a backup plan also. If that the first one doesn't go right, you need a plan B. So from now on, I'm always going to have different plans set in place just to protect myself from hitting that wall, and that because I wanted to finish, and it just made it harder because I wasn't prepared. Just wasn't prepared enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't say you were not prepared. I thought you just went through a lot before the races,
And
because if you finish 4 marathons, that's 4 marathons in 4 weeks. And even if you don't take into account the swimming and the bike, that's still incredible. And you did 4 marathons in 4 weeks. So I didn't think you were not prepared. I just think you went through a lot, and your body is telling you that you got to be careful.
my coach said, the pros don't do that. He goes, Ned didn't run a marathon last week, so pros don't do it. Why do you do it?
Yeah, I think sometimes I know this because I did this too. So sometimes when we are in this peak, or where we are feeling so good about everything, like we are running and we're crossing it. And I did half marathons every weekend for 9 weeks. But then body shows up, you cannot continue to do it every time because it needs a rest. If you keep pushing yourself, then you'll hit a wall, you'll break. And that's what happened. I got injured. So I was like, okay. So now,
Injured, exactly.
yeah, I'm glad nothing happened to you. That is,
Worse.
yeah.
I won't do it.
Yeah. So when you're training for the Ironman, like we discussed, we have to do bike, swim, and run. So what are your go-to workouts for these kind of things when training for this particular event?
So I really like doing intervals. I used to just swim the distance. Like, hey, I have to just swim 1,000 yards. And now I have workouts that are more tailored to where you're doing interval work and doing faster speeds. And so you kind of just varying. Same with the running. I do a lot of sprints. I do a lot of uphill work. Still have my long runs, which I like to do at a super easy zone 2, just to get comfortable running the distance, and then mixing in the intervals and the hills. And then on the bike, it's the same thing. It's a lot of just varying different speeds, and some days it's a lot of heavy riding. I think to summarize, all the 3 sports have intervals that you do, and that's really how the training is set up. You have longer swims, your ride. It's kind of the same thing that we do in running. I do for all 3 sports. I have started lifting more. I need to incorporate more of the future. Just strong. It's just hard when you're doing so much endurance to keep any kind of muscle on.
Yeah.
So definitely I'm adding more strength to my training.
Where will the time come from?
I know, right?
Yeah.
The time will come from me just working part-time.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a mini retirement where I work only part-time and I get to train part-time.
That sounds intense. And when you are doing this kind of thing, what are the signs you look for, like whether you need to stop or you need to push through? So how do you decide? Do you look for something specific in this moment?
So I look at my sleep usually if that's not well, and I like data. I love data. So I like looking at my HRV, see kind of how that's looking. And then if I get anything past 5 o'clock, if I do a workout that's late in the day, it really affects my sleep. So I tried not to do any of those past 5 o'clock.
Okay.
So I usually adjust my schedule if I had to work a little bit later, now 6 o'clock. o'clock, I'm not going to go out there and run. I know I'm not going to be able to sleep, which means the next day I won't be able to hit whatever workout I have. So I try to prioritize based on what's on the schedule. What did I not sleep well? That's why it's good to have that long time frame, right? Training for 6 months. So you've got a lot of time to really dial it in and build the volume, get stronger.
This is a very interesting question because it's a tapering, but then you have not done any tapering last 4 weeks. So if you are in a taper week, how do you prepare before the races? Usually, not in this case, but
So I've found the other 2 Ironmans that I did, I followed the plan that said for 2 weeks to taper. So you're pretty much not doing a lot, almost nothing the week of. I didn't find that it worked for me very well. So what I do now is I taper those 2 weeks before, but it still involves brick workouts. I still do, swim, bike, run.
Okay.
It's happening the 2 weeks before, but it's just way less volume.
Okay.
But I can't stop because if I do stop, I actually feel like it's a lot harder to show up on race day. For me, that's my personal thing. A lot of people say to take that time, but the taper usually looks like that. It's a lot less volume. I'll still, swim or bike. I try to eat a lot more. That's when you start making sure that you've got, you're ready. Your body is ready to just get it all out there because it takes a lot.
In that thought, usually, let's say when you're running for a marathon, right? So there is a specific gram of carbohydrate you need to take. It's like you need to eat this much. So, but when you are training for a triathlon, then what is the amount? Like, how do you
It's the same
prioritize your
thing.
food?
So I try to get 1 gram of carb per kilogram.
Okay.
So that would be 55 grams of carbs. And then sodium is depending on the weather. If you're doing a really hot race, you just have to make sure you watch your sodium levels. And then you just have to try different things. The gels that they have, the Morton gels, work for me really well. I don't have my stomach. I don't have issues with that. So you kind of just have to figure out what works best for you. But yeah, it's the same thing as running.
Yeah, I was just wondering how it would be a little bit different because you are doing, instead of 1 event, you're doing 3 events. So maybe it's different.
A lot more.
Yeah.
It's because for the swim, you wake up a few hours before and you try to get carbs in because you have to have that available for, the hour you're swimming because you won't be able to take anything in. So same with sodium. And then as soon as you get to the bike, right away, you take calories, already in a deficit. So on the bike, the biggest focus is to get as much nutrition as possible. So then when you get to the run, you have enough left. So that's like the biggest thing I had to learn. First time I did it, I had nothing left for the run. It was like, my legs don't even know what to do anymore. I had like the worst half marathon it was a half, like a 70.3. You run a half marathon at the end. And I pushed too hard on the bike. I didn't eat enough, have enough salt. I was in really bad shape. So yeah, nutrition is so important.
Yeah, it sounds exhausting.
It's exhausting, because you're on the bike. So, besides focusing on the bike and going fast, you are trying to eat every 30 minutes, drink, trying to you have so much going on in your head.
Exactly, because you have to eat for bike too, then you have to think about running too, and then do all those kind of things. So it sounds exhausting. Okay, so let's talk about Kona because that's your BQ. That's the thing you're trying to chase. So where are you in that journey? And if you want to do a Kona, then which event are you gonna tackle for the ticket?
So that's a good question. What happens with the Kona race? The females go 1 year and then the males go another. So it flip-flops. And the last race to qualify as a female, I won't have a chance to do any more races. So next year, I haven't figured out which one. Maybe Chattanooga. I might do Chattanooga again, which was a really good race, and try to qualify there. And as far as progress, where I need to be top 5. So I'm close, but I still have quite a bit of work to do to get there.
Up 10 out of how many people?
In like 95, and this one, it's usually around like 60 to 100.
That's incredible though. Still, if you gotta get to 10, it's hard.
You have to get to 5.
Yeah.
So I think I'm close-ish. I don't know if I would call it close, because from 10 to 5, it's quite a bit still to do.
So we talked about your swim, bike and thing, and you told that run is your strongest strength. So out of the swim, I think you already answered this question because you said bike is the one that you struggle with and you want to work on that, improve on that.
The swim is the most. The swim that I struggle the most with.
It's hard.
The bike has gotten so much better. I'm now at a pretty comfortable speed and doing well on the bike, but the swim.
Yeah, all three are tough. Running a marathon and then 180 kilometers on a bike and then 3.8 miles is just insane. So to qualify for the Kona, what kind of time improvement do you have to do? And how are you planning to close that gap for it?
So I plan on improving my bike by at least 30 minutes.
Okay.
If I could get, closer to a 5.5 hour bike, and then on the swim, if I can get 15 minutes faster, and then just be able to run my regular run, not have issues like I did in Texas, I think I could make it. I'm 30 to 45 minutes away from that time that I need to make.
Just curious, what was your time for the running in that event or any event when you do Ironman? How much is your marathon time?
So I've had some pretty good ones and not so good ones. Weekend was not so. It was like a 4:07, no, it was more than that, like 4:20.
Yes,
But I know a 3:2 and 3:45. So where I need to be, I just need to be at my marathon. If I can stay there, then the bike and the swim will follow along.
God, that is,
That
you know,
cost
my,
me. That pretty much cost me. I could have probably been, top 10 again had I actually had a good run. But
you say you didn't have good run and your marathon pace after doing bike and swim and bike is faster than my marathon. And we just did it.
it
That is
sounds
insane.
right. I totally get it. And I'm grateful that I can still run that fast off the bike. But, there's Taylor and Kat Matthews who just ran a 2:30 after they biked. And they set the course record. They did it in 4 hours faster than me.
4 hours
But
and 30 minutes.
yeah, I can't even run that speed. So yeah, it's relative, right? For
Yeah.
you, that might be a 4 hour marathon might be fast, but for somebody like that, it's
It's nothing. Wow,
yeah,
that is
yeah,
insane.
they did it in 12,
Wow.
4 hours.
Yeah, no, regardless, I
Amazing.
think it's a big achievement to do that because it is a hard thing to do. Like I said, you have to swim and then you have to make sure you have enough food to eat. So while you're biking, then you have to make sure you eat enough so that you have a little bit left a tank for the run. And then you have to run a marathon to finish it off. And that is insane. I don't know how you do it. So when you're doing these insane kind of things, have you ever had any injuries or setbacks? And when you had that setbacks, how did you bounce back from it?
So going back to your comment about resting properly after a race, after I did my first half Ironman, 2 days after that, I went out and did a track workout. My knee heard something pop, it gave out, and it turns out I had a tear in my meniscus, and that happened right after I did a race because I was too stubborn and didn't rest. So there's not much you can really do that except for rest. So I took some time off and started doing therapy for that, but not from running. I've had ACL tears and I've had surgery on both knees. That was from playing tennis and volleyball. So that's really those sports where you're moving side to side.
Yeah.
It's really not the running or the biking because you're just going straight.
ACL is hard to recover too, right?
Yeah. The first one, I was 16 when the first one happened. I was pretty young, 6 months to recover. They weren't, the technology wasn't as good. And then the second one was only like 6 years ago. And holy cow, like I was walking the next day. In 6 weeks, I was running again. Yeah, I went from, it used to be 6 months, now it's 6 weeks.
Wow.
So,
Amazing.
but that's the only injuries I've had were not related to swimming, biking, or running. It was different sports. And unfortunately, I can't play tennis anymore or volleyball because of that, because it's not as stable as it used to be.
And you'll not enjoy it either because there is no the X factor on it. From my experience, I used to play ultimate frisbee. So I don't know if you have played it, but yeah.
Never did,
It's
but
pretty
I've
much
seen it.
Yeah, so it's pretty much very intense. You have to sprint a lot and then you have to chase a lot. So I started playing that and then I went to play volleyball once with friends and I was like, what is this? Because I felt I was not challenged and I had not worked out enough because you don't feel fulfilled. So if you go back and play tennis, you're not going to be fulfilled because it's not enough.
Not the same.
Yeah.
I do ping pong. I am a really good ping pong player.
But yeah, interesting.
It's like,
Do you play that for relaxing or do you like to play it?
I like to play a lot. Yeah, it's super fun.
If you're winning.
Right. Yeah, I'm okay losing, but I never lose.
Yeah.
I'll play my
I'm
left
okay
hand if it's good. Yeah. All right.
I'm okay playing, winning. Losing few games is okay, but if I lose all the time, then no, I don't want to play. It's demoralizing to get beaten every time when you play it. Winning is fun. And I'm very competitive too because I will give everything. And I think that's been one of my issues. When I played Ultimate Frisbee, I was diving everywhere and then bruises and then I tore my tendon because I dove for the disc and then I tore it. So I think one thing is I cannot control the emotion when I'm playing. It's just full on like a train all the time, sprinting, everything. And I have so many concussions because I go for the disc and then somebody hit me immediate.
My goodness.
The disc hit me right here and I don't remember anything. And one time I ran into a person and I don't remember anything. So it's,
Wow.
I've had,
Maybe not.
yeah.
At least you don't run into people when you run a marathon.
Yeah, I have not played. After I tore my tendon and then I got into running, I have not got back and played it because I didn't think I will enjoy it too. Because now running is, I like it. I loved it, but then I fell in love with it after last Berlin Marathon because I wanted to get that time and then I got injured, sickness, and it's demoralizing because you want to get this goal and you train for it so long and then you get sick and then I got injured like 1 week, 2 weeks before the race and that kind of, it's demoralizing and like
You
we're very
train so hard,
yeah.
so long.
And we're a very competitive person. I did my PB, but I didn't get the time I wanted, and that was like very disheartening. And then I was sick. It took me until January to get back to full fitness, so I started getting back to running again.
And that's usually the hardest part when you're tapering is like not getting sick.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the time where you're prone. You're very much like your body is exhausted. It's like, okay, now it's time to get sick. It's
Not the
coming.
time,
Let it
yes.
take
And
a
it's hard because the Berlin is around the winter, like around, and then season is changing, and then everybody's getting sick, so it's just really hard. Oh. So getting back to this mental game, because you do hard things, right? You bike, you swim, and most of the time you are training alone and you are by yourself because when you're doing Ironman, there is nobody there training with you, running with you. So endurance sports can be lonely. So what keeps you going when there is no crowd, no music, no finish line inside because you're just by yourself for hours and hours and hours. So how do you handle all this?
So that is actually really tough because I like music, and for me, music motivates me, and I guarantee you I run faster if I have music, or I bike faster, and you're not allowed to have that on Ironman course. It makes it really tough. But I usually think back to my training. So when I'm having a hard time, I think back to, oh, I run on Wednesdays with there's a group of girls and we run certain route, right? And it's 5.5 miles. So I think in my head, okay, this is really hard, but I do those hard things every Wednesday with those girls. So it's just like that. You have to get through it just like you do every Wednesday when you go. You do it. You can do it for 5 miles. Like let's say I have an hour left of the bike or something. Like I can do anything for an hour. Like you can't tell me that you can't just ride a bike for like you can do it. So I keep always telling myself when I get to that point, I break it down and think back on my training and the people I did it with, and it just smiling, I feel like helps motivates me. So think back to those times, start smiling, and then automatically you're just training your brain to think positive again, and then you have energy again. It's just like you have to think about positive things. How hard it is right now, you're gonna get through just like you did the other times. Just like at track it's just another lap. You can do it. So that's how I stay motivated.
Do you have to do a lot of pep talk in this moment? Because when you're by yourself, it's like you said, it's just
100%.
not, yeah, it
A
sounds
lot of
tough.
pep talk. It's very tough.
It is tough. And when you're doing these things, right? So we all hit a wall at some point. So let's say you are doing this incredibly well and you're like crossing in swimming and biking and running and you hit this wall. So how do you break from it?
When I hit that wall and like I can't go no more, I try to break it up into smaller chunks. It's something that I can just think about this mile. Right? I think back to the people that helped me get there, all the hard work. Yeah, and I just don't want to let anybody down. If my leg's not falling off, then I'm gonna just keep pushing and it's gonna be okay.
Has there been any time when you are doing this thing you ever thought that, oh God, I think I'm just gonna, that's it, I can't do it?
I have before. If I know that this is not going to make me better or help me improve, or I might do some damage and actually, hurt my knees, I will stop.
Okay.
But that point has to be pretty rough for me to stop. But I have, and it's okay. I didn't beat myself up for quitting. I felt like that was the smartest thing to do and the most mature, despite this 20 years old right now. I would push through and then get hurt. Like that mistake I made when I hurt myself after I did the Ironman. I would never do that again.
Yeah.
So.
Listen, learn. Sometimes it makes us like you have to pay a big price for it.
Huge. And then you value being healthy so much. Like, oh, I just wish I could just get back to the normal self that I was. And then you're more careful because you know how hard it was to get through there. It's just, yeah.
And also, like when you have this goal in mind, right? So, for instance, when you are doing the Texas Ironman, you had this big goal of getting into Kona, and you didn't get it, unfortunately. So, when you are starting the new training block, how do you get out of the slump? Especially when you have a goal in mind and then you are training so hard for it, like you want to get it, but then at the end it's just like you miss by a few minutes or something like that. So how do you get away from it? To get your mojo back and to get back in all the sports again, because it's pretty rough. Once you say, I'm going to do it, and then you cannot get that goal, then it's hard. So how do you get out of the slump?
I'm more motivated because of it. I didn't make it. So let's get back to what I could do better, how I can improve. I don't get into those slums. I
It's
just look
opposite
for an
for me.
opportunity to, yeah, I don't feel like doing anything right now. The things that I could do better.
It
I have
was
a hard time
yeah,
with it.
it was
I
hard
feel
for
like
me. I hated running, and I was sick too, so I didn't run for a lot. But
I'm
then now I had to get back to it, and then I hated it. It just like everything hurts because you have
give
to start
yourself,
again.
you just need to give yourself more time because
Yeah.
I feel like if you give yourself time, you'll get the itch again. And if you don't, maybe you're just done with it. It could be like that you're just done for a little while and it'll come back.
Yeah, I think it
Give
was that
yourself,
for me. Yeah, definitely. And I think not running kind of helped me, but still, now when I'm running, I don't put that pressure on me because I don't need the time. I don't care. Actually, I don't care for it. And now I'm just trying to. So, for the first time in my life, I walked yesterday when I ran because that's what you have to do in ultra. I've been running in
100%.
road marathon so long. Now
Yeah.
I need to get in this habit and say, okay, it's okay to walk, because
Oh, yeah.
road runner usually like to walk at all. So I intentionally made sure that I ran 5 kilometers and then I walked for a minute or two and
Mhm.
then I continued back. The route has really big hills at the end, so I made sure that I ran slowly, I walked. So I just like getting into that mindset. I think that's been one of the biggest differences, saying it's okay to run slow and it's okay to walk, because that's the two things road runner would never want to do.
A completely different animal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm okay with it now. So I'm just like, I don't care about time. So I'm just like, okay, to just do my thing, go run and enjoy. I didn't hate myself yesterday, and I didn't hate the workout because I was not trying to run 5 minute mile where I'm just trying to push myself so hard. I was running last 5 kilometers pretty fast. So went with vibe. So my legs were running faster. So like, okay, I'm just gonna take this in and enjoy it and not try to push myself. So that felt nice. It's been a while I felt this way. So it was nice feeling to get that
Yeah.
feeling back. So I'm happy now. So I'm gonna go tomorrow again and do the hill. So we'll see what is tomorrow. But yesterday I was happy. Tomorrow we'll see. And also, you said your first race was half marathon, and then you did a marathon, and then you BQ'd, and then you did the Ironman. So it's like a different blocks of goals for you, right? So from half marathon
Mhm.
to marathon. So BQ you had this target, and then once you finish that, then now this is the Kona. So how has your mindset evolved? Because these are different type of goals from different kind of events. So
I think doing the Ironmans is completely different because it just affects so many areas of your life. When you're just running, it's easier to get it done and to keep up with nutrition. So I think my mindset has been more about being smart about what I do, being smart about getting the right nutrition. It's focused more on being an overall healthy athlete. Yeah, like that's the biggest that has happened. You can run a marathon and not fuel right, you can still make it. If you don't feel right in the triathlon, you're just done. You're going to be miserable, and it's just such a long day. So the better I am about that, the better race I have.
actually, that's the next question too. In the same topic. So when you are running for the Ironman or ultra marathon, so how is your fueling strategy, or what is your fueling plan for?
So I'm lucky because my stomach can handle anything. So I usually, during on a road race where it's a faster race or an Ironman, I usually just do the mortal gels and the hydration that they give you. Like I said, the per gram per kilogram that I weigh. But then when you get to the ultras, oh my God, I eat everything. I'll have pretzels and M&Ms and whatever you feel like you can just have because you're just out there for a long time and it's not, your stomach isn't as intensely working as it is when you're doing a road race going so freaking fast.
Yeah,
Potatoes, you have like whatever on a trail run. It's so much more fun.
it
You're
is.
eating real chips and just,
You can eat junk food.
you can eat junk food and be just fine. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the difference. It's not like the marathon. You're just like, the gels, the cups, and then you're just so perfect.
That's the one thing I need to get used to it because I don't like my shoes dirty.
Exactly. You're a marathoner. Wait, you're gonna turn into trail runner soon.
Yeah, I don't like when my shoes are dirty, and I've
Oh
run
no.
when it is. I don't like it when it's wet because we run during winter and it's yucky feeling.
Oh geez. Well, you better change your mindset because you're gonna get dirty and you're gonna get wet.
Yeah, that's the one thing I need to get used to.
Yeah.
And
It's a different
also,
mindset.
yeah, so when you are doing this thing, your gear has also probably evolved a lot. So has there been any gears that has completely changed the game for you?
Yeah, so I finally have a really cool bike that I ride. I had a used bike that I bought, and it was okay, but now I actually have the electronic shifting. I have all the cool stuff on it. So that gear has changed, and everything's just so expensive. When you get into triathlon, everything's expensive. I've upgraded my shoes. My marathon shoes have stayed the same. I just run in the same shoes.
The dynamic
There's
one.
there's always something that you can get that's a little bit lighter, that makes you faster, and it breathes more, or just all the things you can have. But I think the bike has been my biggest new gear purchase.
I don't even know what you said, but I'm sure somebody would understand who has done electronic. Yeah, that is foreign. I don't know what that means.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. When you get into triathlon, you start speaking a different language, like you will with ultra running as a language. Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to it though. I signed up for my first ultra, so I hope it's hilly. It's like 650 meters, so I'm looking forward to it. That's why I started walking, because I'm sure I'm gonna be walking on one of those hills. It cannot run, so getting used to it.
Agreed.
And also, you do, like you said, we little bit talked about the injuries and stuff, because you do so many things. So right now, do you have any strength or mobility routines that you are like, okay, I need to do it when you are like so busy doing so many things?
Yeah, I try to focus on having 2 days a week at least. So I do lower body and then I do upper body. So just different exercises related to the mechanics of running is, you're always jumping from one leg to another. So I do a lot of exercises that are just one leg at a time. You can train for that and very much mimic what the race would be like. And then for upper body, just to keep for my swimming. And in general, you need to have a strong core for everything you do. I try to focus on that. It's not a lot. It's just, those areas really you have to pay attention.
Okay. And also, are there any tools or app that you swear by when you are using tracking, planning, or staying accountable for yourself?
Okay. So I love my Garmin. I use that to track everything. Training Peaks is what my coach uses. That's where he writes my workouts, and they correspond with my watch. I follow people on Instagram that have some pretty good workouts. But in general, I've been lifting for a long time, so I kind of know what I'm doing. And I have a gym that's awesome that, I don't even have to think about it. I go to lower body day and they have different workouts and it varies. I like going to a gym and doing a class with other people. I swear by that rather than an app. I like to have an in-person coach. I like to interact with real people rather than just following an app.
Okay.
Digital.
Yeah, thank you for that. I kind of relate to that. Some of the things. I also like to meet people and do things. I never had a coach, so I know how it feels like to have a coach. But by thinking of you, like how you were talking about it, I think it will help. But we'll see. But I did a running certification myself. I learned a lot of things when I did that. There were so many things, like traditional things. When you have injuries, put on an ice pack. So, but when it's the certification, it tells you have to put a heat pack, because heat pack expands the vein, and that way it accelerates the process, because the more flows through the area, the faster it recovers. So there are so many things that I learned when I did the certification. Was like, oh wow, I wish I had earlier. So it's been eye-opening.
Also means that that person has gone through, has made a lot of these mistakes, and they can save you from having to make those mistakes yourself. So I think that's where the coach comes in handy, and it would be a good idea when you've gotten to a point where you aren't getting any better, what you're not doing right.
True. If I go for longer distance, then I probably have to get one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of 100K right now, because that's the next thing I wanted to do after 80K and then 100K. But I was thinking about 100K. I was going to talk to Milton about, bro, this is what I'm thinking of. He's been such an inspiration for me, because he was the one I talked to first. And then what he said was like, oh God, that is so true. So don't wait, because you just do it and then just prepare yourself. So that's what I followed. I think we finished all the questions, but there are two things left. One is the rapid fire. So just ask you a bunch of questions and then you just answer the first thing that comes to your mind.
Sure.
Morning run or evening run?
Morning.
Favorite running shoes right now?
Ooh, I have the new Adizero Pro 4. I ran Maryland in them, and then I ran Boston, and then the race in Texas in them, and I really like them.
Hilly or speed work?
Speed work.
Solo run or group run?
Depends on the solo. Groups that are getting so big, they handle these groups that are like 250 people. Usually I like group runs that are smaller. So
favorite post-race meal?
I actually love chocolate milk after a race. That's my favorite thing.
That's a good carb and it makes you happy. So yes.
Yep, chocolate milk has everything you need. Protein, carbs.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Preferred fuel, gels, real food, or drink mix?
Oh, real food. I prefer it, but it's not good for a fast marathon. Good for running now.
Obviously.
Everything right now.
Yeah. Most memorable finish line moment?
Finishing my first Ironman. No. Boston. Boston was
Yeah.
more memorable. Yeah, it was, man. I I just cried so much.
Okay. One piece of gear you can't live without.
Watch.
Would you rather do a 100-mile run or a triple Ironman?
Run.
All right. I think this is the end, but we always end with this. So I would like you to finish this sentence for me. Running has changed my life because.
I am a better person.
Okay, that is beautiful. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey. I know there are maybe listeners who are gonna be and chase their own Kona, because that's everybody has this big and ambitious dream that we all want to go. So I'm sure after listening to this, you're like, I'm gonna do it. So I'm hoping that we get this kind of feeling from this, because it's been inspirational, because the way you train and then the way you have shared a story and then the way everything has escalated for you, from jumping from half marathon to marathon and then BQ, and from BQ to now we are doing this Ironman, which is insane. Thank you for taking your time for this, and so thank you for being patient, and then it's been awesome. I really enjoyed this conversation today.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
Okay, and maybe we'll talk again after you do your Ironman, and then we can share another epic journey, like how it happened and then what happened in that story. So thank you so much for your time.
I want to come back and tell you how I qualified for Kona and how I went to Kona. That would be my biggest dream.
Yes, let me know and then we'll do it. I'm really looking forward to your journey and see how you do, because even though I don't do this, I really want to see how you're doing, because it's such a hard thing for me. I can see you're doing this and it's incredible. And like I said, I've been inspired by you because you do these things and you run faster than my marathon, even when I'm doing Ironman. So incredible.
It's all relative.
Okay, then see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.